Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another Turbo Tyler video, and in today's video we're going to be ruining the focus because this is what we're going to be doing. We're installing some RS bonnet vents. I really like the way these look, but I'm not necessarily doing this for an aesthetic purpose. On track I'm noticing I'm getting real hot engine bay temps, so air intake temps and oil temps, so I want to add the bonnet vents to let the heat out. These are RS style vents, and I got these off AliExpress for $14, so £7. It's worth a go for £7. I already did cut up my bonnet to add in the aero catches, actual functioning aero catches. That's what holds my bonnet down now. I didn't film that as a video because it was quite a long process and took, quite a long time to line everything up. Whereas these are a little bit easier, going to be a bit more fun and fast-paced install, so that's why we're doing a video on it today. I'll quickly talk you through the install process now. So if we look under the bonnet, we can see this shape in the cutout, right? And this shape fits real well with the shape of our bonnet vents. I believe this is where they are on an actual Focus RS, where they come as factory. And what I did is I took an old cornflakes box and made myself a bit of a template so I know where to cut. So that fits over there, sort of like that. And what I see other guys do on YouTube is they do them in this center, and then they mask this all up and mark the center and get that in there like that. But mine's practically in the center anyway, so I think what I'm just going to do is put this down to the bottom edge like that, so it lines up with that bottom edge, and then put this edge over like that, pretty much, so like this, and then I'll get Robert to mark it with the pen. We'll flip this over, do that for the other side, then we'll take some measurements to see if we're roughly the same on both sides, and then it's time for cutting. So I've laid out over here what we're gonna need. So I'm gonna be using a Dremel with some of these diamond cutting bits off Temu. So hopefully that'll get through it. We've got plenty, so. And then we've also got like a painter's drop sheet that I put over the engine bay so metal doesn't go anywhere. And this is what we're actually gonna be used to hold on. So these are not going to be screwed in or anything like that. They're just going to be held on with some of the sealant. So unfortunately, we've got to wait 24 hours for it to dry. I really want to go out and drive it straight away. So yeah, nothing else left to do. We'll go ahead, throw that template on and get into it. So we've got the bonnet marked out now, like you saw, just easy, flip the template over, works the same for both sides. And from a sort of visual inspection, I'd say it looks pretty close. I want to take some measurements now, like rough measurements, corner to corner and stuff, but the angle's nice. I don't know, to me that one looks bigger, but it can't be because it's the same thing we flipped over. But yeah, take a few measurements and then not really anything left to do. This is much easier than doing the bonnet pins. Just put the drop sheet over and start cutting. Everything looked all good with a quick side-to-side measurement. Me and Robert went ahead and chucked the drop sheet on and got ready to start cutting. Safety first. Got the matching Focus ear defenders. Let's just plug it in and give it a go. I'm going back now, I guess. So then I started to do some cutting and some more cutting, and then I cut a little bit more, until finally I had a big hole in my bonnet. So the cutting went pretty well, and my vent actually fits in pretty much straight away, and it sits nicely on the top of the bonnet as well. It's on a bit more of an angle than I was expecting. From here, when I drew the angle out, I'm like, yeah, it looks okay. And then from the other side, I'm like, oh, that's a lot more of an angle than I thought. But it does follow the angle of the bonnet quite nice. If you come around here, Robert, you'll see. So it does follow this, the angle of the bonnet here quite nicely. And I'm pretty happy with that. This one is positioned right over the filter, and the other one's just positioned over the other side of the engine. So yeah, so all we've got to do now is obviously cut the other side, and then we'll file this off, clean it, give a lick of paint on the edge so it doesn't rust, and then seal it in, and then we just got to wait for it to dry. So it's going pretty well. So we'll just repeat the same process on the other side. But first, lunch break! We repeated the same process on the other side, just cutting out the shape. Both holes were looking great, so we put the vents in for a quick test fit to see how it was looking. Alright, so both holes have been cut for the bonnet vents. They're not stuck in yet, literally just finished cutting the holes. But just doing a quick fucking test fit and like looking how it lines up with this and everything else, like I'd say they're pretty even. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, the way they're sitting. It looks relatively all even and stuff, so, and I'm pretty happy with the placement. When I first put this one in on its own, I was like, oh, it's too much of an angle, but now I got the other one in, and you look at it from like a bit of a distance, so you can actually see the whole car. Like, I think it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So now all I need to do really is file these edges, lick a paint, and then silicone that in, and then it's done really. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what it's like when it's all done. Unfortunately, I've got to wait 24 hours. I've got to put a bit of weight on it as well, so I think I'm just going to set something on it a little bit heavier and then tape it down as well. But it sits pretty flush on the bonnet as well, so no, I think it's going pretty well. Even though you're never going to see these surfaces, I went ahead and cleaned them up with a file anyway. And put a little bit of paint on those exposed metal surfaces just so they won't rust. I also prepped the back of the vents by sanding the surface just so the glue would have something to grip to. Alright, so we're just going to apply some of this... Oh, fuck. Oh, we're applying the sealant now. Luckily, I didn't make too much of a mess. I wasn't expecting it to be clear, that's for sure. And I also wasn't expecting it to come out so soon. Alright guys, so we've put the bonnet vents in now. That was relatively mess-free. This stuff's easy as to clean up, so I quite like that stuff. But yeah, we've added some weights onto it, the best sort of thing I can come up with. It's a bit difficult because everything keeps wanting to slide off, even though I've tried to get the bonnet level. But yeah, this stuff apparently like cures in 10 minutes, but takes a full 24 hours to set, so it should only be sort of 10 minutes for it to actually sit. Because the holes are relatively tight fitting, there's not too much movement. I've put them in, they look pretty level, so that's where they're sitting now. And I just got to wait till tomorrow to see what they actually look like. So I'll touch base with you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, so that is the bonnet vents all finished up now. I'm actually really happy with the way they've turned out. Like I said, I wasn't really doing this for any aesthetic purpose. It was more for a performance purpose to get heat out of that engine bay. Because the way these work is the cold air will come through here, and I think it like creates like a negative pressure zone, and it will force it out through that bonnet vent, so it'll just swoop out through there. And it's real cool because this one actually passes over the cone filter. You can see just there in that corner is my cone filter, so that's going to be really good. I am real nervous about leaving this out in the rain now. Luckily, I get to keep it in the garage. Yeah, because the rain's just going to go through there and sit right on the cone filter, so I don't think I'll be driving it much in the rain with the vents now, but I'm real happy with the way they've turned out. I'd say they're even. Like, that looks all symmetrical to me. I haven't really got any issues with that. And from the underneath, it looks quite cool as well. So yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. Definitely something I'd recommend you guys tackling yourself. I wouldn't be too afraid of it. It wasn't really that difficult. The aero catchers were way more difficult to install. But yeah, RS vent installed now. And that's going to be it, like I said, for today's video. Next video, we are tuning the Focus ST. We're going stage 1 tune, OEM denied. So make sure you guys check in for that video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll catch you in the next one.